I'm Dr. Xania Sofra-Weiss, and I would like to introduce you to the recent studies that we've done with the Ion Magnum and the RSS. We used MRIs and the results were quite significant. We found a significant increase of muscle mass, a significant increase of T3 and DHEA. We also found a significant decrease of visceral fat and subcutaneous fat. The results are quite dramatic. The power of signaling is that you can build new proteins by simply changing the instructions on the genome. Gated ion channels. What happens there is that the electron's electric field amplifies the energy of an ion channel by increasing or decreasing the height of the energy at the gating cavity of this ion channel. Electron gating ion channels. Electron can amplify ion channels. Ion channels need less energy to open and close due to the electron amplifying the energy required to open and close the ion channel gates. Electron can amplify ion channels at energies below thermal noise. The ion channels control the life and the death of the cell. It is necessary for the cell to employ ion channels, for example, to remove the calcium. It is very important for cells to maintain low concentrations of calcium for proper cell signaling. Increased intracellular calcium concentrations is equal to cell death. Now here you see a damaged neuron and how the gates of the ion channel are closed and the calcium results in cellular death and depletion of energy. Intracellular calcium concentration is tightly regulated within narrow limits. Under pathological conditions, however, regulatory mechanisms are overwhelmed, and intracellular calcium concentration increases through calcium influx from extracellular pools through various channels. Ion channels are necessary for calcium homeostasis. Lack of calcium homeostasis is associated with neurodegeneration and aging. And this is some research from Lally et al. In 2005 and Squill et al. In 2008. The prime goal of this technology is to develop the necessary electronics capable of emitting and sustaining energies that complement the energies of ion channels as they have been measured by batch clock recording studies. Anything that overpowers ion gates cannot interact with them and therefore cannot control them, simply causes increased calcium influx and cellular death. iHelios has 5,540 complex programs compacted into 93 treatment sections and categorized into 11 treatment plans. Each program is part of automatically alternating frequencies changing every 1 to 4 seconds. Two separate channels operate simultaneously. Here you see some before and afters, details of eyes, pigmentations, and half face done. It's easily to identify the treated site. iHelios is an analog device by virtue of using a digital to analog converter. iHelios constitutes high-performance conversion technology that bridges the analog and digital worlds. iHelios has very powerful computer specs, 17-inch high brightness touchscreen, fanless LV Intel Core, 2-duo processor, dual Ethernet ports, built-in DVD drive, built-in 1.3 megapixels camera, speakers. It supports a DDR2 DIMM memory up to 4 gigabytes and much more. Digital to analog converter is a dual-channel 1.2 gigasample per second 16-bit digital to analog converter that supports the high data rates and complex modulation schemes required for advanced multi-carrier communications. Featuring a non-chip 32-bit numerically controlled oscillator that allows flexible placement of the intermediate frequency to help optimize system performance. It uses sophisticated digital predistortion techniques. Here you see how the digital to analog frequencies are formulated and how complex it is. And here you see the timings and how the different times of the different frequencies are matched together. As you can see, it's a very complex process. The iHelios and the iPicoHelios are ultra-low power devices, and they need to be powered from within themselves and not from the mains power supply. This feature makes them completely safe, much safer than any other electrical device that is directly connected to the mains. They also have what we call common node rejection. Any voltage that is the same on two wires will be rejected. In the iPico and the iHelios, the voltage is always different. The iHelios output is not referenced to the ground. There is no ground leakage. For example, if the body is functioning at a level below thermal noise and you put in an energy just above thermal noise, whatever is equal to thermal noise will be cancelled out by the body and the rest will go out to ground leakage. Therefore, this will create noise and inaccuracies because you do not know exactly how much of the device output is actually going into the body and how much of the device output is going to the ground. Now what happens with the iHelios and the iPico? None of the output of the device is lost into ground leakage. iHelios has elimination of jitter. Jitter is the dynamic displacement of digital signal edges from their long-term average positions measured in degrees RMS. A perfect oscillator would have rising and falling edges occurring at precisely regular moments in time and would never vary. Now we have a high-quality, low-phase noise crystal oscillator with jitter of less than 35 picoseconds of period jitter accumulated over many millions of clock edges. Jitter in oscillators is caused by thermal noise, instabilities in the oscillator electronics, external interferences through the power rails ground, and even in the output connections. Even a simple amplifier, inverter, or buffer will contribute jitter to a signal. The iHelios has what we call spurious-free dynamic range. That refers to the ratio between the highest level of the fundamental signals and the highest level of any spurious signal, including aliases and harmonically related frequency components in the spectrum. For the very best spurious-free dynamic range, it is essential to begin with a high-quality oscillator. Now, if a transmitter's output sends spurious signals into other frequency bands, they can corrupt or interrupt neighboring signals. The iHelios also has what we call direct digital synthesis, that is a method of producing an analog waveform, usually a sine wave, by generating a time-varying signal in digital form and then performing a digital to analog conversion. Because operations with a DTS device are primarily digital, it can offer fast switching between output frequencies, fine frequency resolution, and operation over a broad spectrum of frequencies. DTS is programmed through a high-speed serial peripheral interface. The DTS has low power combined with its inherent excellent performance and the ability to digitally program and reprogram the output waveform. For example, the DTS produces a sine wave at a given frequency. The frequency depends on two variables, the reference clock frequency and the binary number programmed into the frequency register, the tuning. The binary number in the frequency register provides the main input to the phase accumulator. The phase accumulator computes a phase address for the lookup table, which outputs the digital value of amplitude corresponding to the sine of that phase angle to the digital to analog converter. The RSS and the ion magnum, the motor nerve ionic pacemaker technologies, were developed by the device signal re-establishing disrupted communication between damaged neurons, ultimately reaching the brain. The brain then can send the necessary agents to repair the damaged neurons. Development of the pacemaker technology was by comparison of normal and damaged neurons, with device acting as a bypass mechanism to the damaged neuron. Frequencies are added one by one while trying to match the signal of normal neuron with that of the severed neuron. All the signals that are comparable to the normal neuron are adopted, and this is a very painstaking empirical research that actually lasted for the RSS 17 years, for the Magnum 27 years. This technology was made analog from the beginning, unlike the Aelios from digital that is turned analog. Why do we call it the motor nerve ionic pacemaker? It's because, just like the heart pacemaker that replaces the function of the pacemaker cells, the ion magnum replaces the function of the motor nerve. Here you see the rejuvenation effects and the significant weight loss effects that the ion magnum produces. In this single study design, you see a significant increase of muscle mass, and that's within 4 or 5 days, a significant decrease of visceral fat and overall body fat, and a significant increase of bone density. More examples of abdomen weight loss. More abdomen weight loss. Some examples of legs and the loss on that part of the body. That's more abdomen shots. This is a list of studies that have found a significant effect that this technology has on weight loss, reduces serum total cholesterol, triglycerides. The following research led us to the reasoning for our microscopic blood study. Selim et al. Found that obesity is related to reduced blood flow velocities in the middle cerebral arteries. Lasco et al. Found similar results, and Concansan et al. Demonstrated that obesity is related with reduced portal venous blood flow and a decreased overall hepatic perfusion and oxygenation. Here are the results of our blood study. We had 19 subjects total, 6 treatments, 15 subjects had severe erythrocyte aggregation, 4 subjects had a mixed aggregation and rouleau. After 6 treatments, 16 subjects had complete erythrocyte separation and 3 subjects had some rouleau. There was a significant decrease of fungal forms of poikilocytosis, bacteria, and thrombocyte aggregation. Here you see some before and afters of blood samples with aggregation before and complete separation afterwards. There's some more before and after samples with significant separation after the 6 treatments. In the second study that we did in February 2010, we used the ion magnum and the RSS to research the effects of the motor nerve ionic pacemaker technology, the ion magnum and the RSS on lipid and muscle profile, free T3 and DHEA on 11 obese individuals. Results were accumulated over a period of 7 months from a multiracial study population, 4 Caucasians, 5 Indians, and 2 Hispanic, for a 3-week period during which subjects received a total of 9 treatments, 3 treatments per week, spaced 2 to 3 days apart. Measurements were made via magnetic resonance imaging, cross-sectional areas of subcutaneous and visceral adipose tissue and muscle tissue, measurements of lipid, DHEA, free T3 concentrations, and clinical data. Subjects were 7 obese women of mean age 52.3, BMI 28.8, and 3 obese men of mean age 48.9 and BMI of 31.6. The motor nerve ionic pacemaker technology, the ion magnum, had the following results: significant decrease of visceral fat, before 159.8, after 76.9. Significant decrease of subcutaneous fat before 252.23, after 176.3. significant decrease of adipose tissue area and triglyceride levels before 2.87, after 1.11. These results are very highly significant. The statistical significance for visceral fat and subcutaneous fat is at the level of 0.001, and the significance of the adipose tissue area and triglyceride levels is at the 0.01. Another very highly significant result was the increased muscle mass that was again at the probability of 0.001. It went from 133.7 to 201.73. There was a significant increase in DHEA levels, DHEA before 10.7 and after 16.85. There was also a significant increase in free T3 levels, free T3 before 120 and after 620. Before and after pictures revealed significant rejuvenation effects, skin glow and facial sculpting when this technology was used at minimal voltage levels on the subject's faces. In conclusion, the Ion Magnum, the motor nerve ionic pacemaker technology, decreases abdominal fat deposits, improves muscular mass, decreases triglycerides, and increases DHA and free T3. Independent research by McCoy et al. Found that ionic technology combined with exercise resulted in marked increase in muscle mass involving increase in both length and girth within a few days. Additionally, it resulted in marked upregulation of IGF-1 and mRNA. Harakawa et al. Found that exposure to ionic therapy significantly decreases plasma levels of free fatty acids and triglycerides compared to those of no treatment. Hope and Palmer found in vitro experiments that intracellular triglycerol was significantly decreased. The probability was less than 0.05 following ionic treatment when compared to controls. This data indicates that intracellular triglycerol is hydrolyzed in response to ionic stimulation. More investigators found that in vivo study that ionic treatment enhances fatty acid oxidation. In other words, it utilizes fatty acids as an energy source, reduces plasma triglycerides and fatty acids, and increases plasma glucose and insulin. Blood level cholesterol were also found to be lower in the experimental group. Kolping et al. Found that ionic technology produces rapid hypertrophy, which is the result of changes in gene expression detected by analyzing the RNA. This very rapid hypertrophy was found to be associated with an increase of up to 250% in the RNA content of the muscles and an abrupt change in the species of RNA. In other words, there was an abundance of slow type skeletal genes that are associated with overload, stretch, and physical exercise, proving that this technology, despite the fact that it's effortless, is equivalent to exercising strenuously. Maneras et al. Investigated metabolic disturbances in adipose tissue mRNA expression of selected genes in subjects with polycystic ovary syndrome characterized by insulin resistance and adiposity. They found that ionic treatment, when combined with exercise, improved insulin sensitivity as measured by Clump. Therefore, this technology, the Ion Magnum and the Arasis, the ionic motor nerve pacemaker technology, enhances T3, which causes lipolysis, and IGF-1, which causes muscle hypertrophy. Therefore, it can be used to treat obesity and obesity-related disorders such as insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. Erythrocyte separation is also extremely useful to cardiovascular disease. This technology also increases DHEA, and that is associated with increased bone density. Therefore, this technology can be useful in osteoporosis and osteogenesis. And this technology was primarily developed for re-establishing recommunications, neurological disorders, and multiple sclerosis. The Arasis was specifically developed for multiple sclerosis, and later on the Magnum after 27 years of empirical research. Thank you very much for listening to the presentation.